What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my review of Kanye West's brand new album, The Life of Pablo. Pablo who? Pablo Picasso? Pablo Escobar? Which one? Which one are we talking about? Nobody really knows because Kanye leaves it up to interpretation all the time. So we have been waiting on a brand new Kanye West album for almost 3 years. His last album was Yeezus in the summer of 2013, and fans have been eager to hear what he's been working on. But let's talk about the lead up to this album, the build up to this album, the 2.5 year build up to The Life of Pablo. So around this same time last year, everybody thought Kanye was going to drop some new music because he kept dropping singles. He dropped Only One with Paul McCartney. He dropped 4 or 5 Seconds with Paul McCartney and Rihanna. He was on Wolves. He had a lot of music coming out. Not to mention he had All Day, you know, which was a nice little track, but nobody really knew what direction he was going in because the tracks were so sporadic and sounded so different from each other that nobody really knew what the sound of his next album was going to be. Not to mention he's undergone 4 different album changes. This album was originally titled So Help Me God. Then he changed it to Swish. And I would say for about a good 11 months it remained as Swish until he decided just a few weeks ago, oh, we're gonna change it to Waves. Then when he changed it to Waves, he basically received a lot of controversy for swagger jacking Max B, which ultimately led to a Twitter beef between him and Wiz Khalifa because Wiz Khalifa criticized him for taking the whole Max B style. And then of course Kanye was talking much trash about Amber Rose, so she had to jump in, but this was all over a little simple misunderstanding of an acronym. And then as we continue on, he kept on tweeting out different notepads of what the track list was gonna be. Originally it was 10 songs, and then Kim Kardashian was tweeting for him saying that Good Fridays had returned, so we had gotten a couple tracks from Good Friday. He had released Facts about a month ago, which he was basically dissing Nike the entire time.
No, not fuck Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is our boy. Well, I wouldn't be here if I weren't for Michael Jordan. No. Respect Jordan.
And he released 2 more tracks, Real Friends and No More Parties in LA, but after that we didn't hear nothing for like 3 weeks, so Good Fridays really didn't come back as silent. It kind of sort of did, but not actually came back. It was just like 3 Fridays. And then all of a sudden he says, hey, I want to have a listening party at Madison Square Garden in alignment with his new debut of his Yeezy Season 3 fashion collection. A couple days ago, he has his listening party at Madison Square Garden in New York City alongside his fashion collection, which was basically orchestrated. The show was orchestrated by Vanessa Beecroft. But we were listening to the music, but the music actually took a back seat to the fashion because you had all of the models. You had like 1,200 models just standing there and the cameras were fixated upon them for the entire show. And yeah, the music was in the background and I was jamming to it and stuff like that, but the fashion was so distracting because I would never wear any of that stuff. Regardless, I say all that to say is this album has been on such an emotional roller coaster. We had gotten promised release dates that didn't get met. We got added tracks, like 7 new added tracks. We got an argument between him and Chance whether the song should be on there or not. And now we finally have The Life of Pablo. He finally dropped it after his Saturday Night Live performance exclusively on Tidal. So to really put it simply, this is his 7th studio album. The Life of Pablo is in so many different directions. It's going in so many different places. Honestly, one of the good things that I can say about it is that it has all elements of Kanye West from every one of his studio albums up until this point. You can hear really cool soul samples from the College Dropout, but then you can also hear the very unconventional beats from Yeezus that he did just 3 years ago. The opening track, Ultralight Beam with Chance the Rapper, is probably one of his greatest intro tracks that he's done so far, and Chance absolutely steals the show on this song. And then it moves into the Father Stretch My Hands parts 1 and 2. Those are some of the most triumphant beats that he's made probably since Late Registration, and you can just hear it. Metro Boomin really did his thing on these songs, but they also have remnants of Yeezus in there as well. There's a lot of different beat switches throughout this album, and nothing really kind of rides out. Everything is really just moving at a very fast and frenetic pace. And then you got to talk about songs like Real Friends, which is probably his most straightforward song on the album, where he's definitely having a little bit of sense of paranoia about who the people who are actually caring about him, who are those people that actually surround him, because even some of his own family he felt like has betrayed him in the past. And we gotta talk about Wolves. Wolves was debuted last year during Saturday Night Live, but this is the first official MP3 version of that song we get, but he's actually removed Vic Mensa and Sia from the song, who were originally on it. And he added a couple of more verses and put Frank Ocean, who knows where Frank Ocean has been. He has been in hiding, and he really puts them on to shine. And I actually really like this version of Wolves. I still wish we could have heard the original MP3 version, but I still like this version of Wolves. Another album highlight, Waves. So this is the song that Chance the Rapper fought for that apparently delayed it for like a whole nother day. Chris Brown is on this song. It's probably the most radio friendly song on this album. I'm almost anticipating it to get radio play because it's very much a triumphant song. very much a powerful song that a lot of people can resonate to. 30 Hours was another highlight. Unexpectedly, we got Andre 3000 on the song. I don't think he was even credited, so it was a surprise to actually hear him on the song. It's probably one of the longer tracks. Most of this album is very concise and short, but this is one of the longer tracks that has a very, very good beat, very minimalist, and I definitely enjoyed the vocals from Andre 3000 on there. But the thing that I really do get from this album is that Kanye loves Kanye a whole lot, which we already knew. We've been known that, but he really loves himself. I mean, he talks about it a lot on this album, and he's still very, very misogynistic. Like, we cannot overlook the fact of what the things he said about his own wife, calling his wife a B-word, like the mother of his own children, and then also talking about Taylor Swift and how he made her famous, but he was calling her a B-word too. Like, Kanye's still very misogynistic, so those are personal things that I think he just needs to grow up from. Like, you shouldn't still be saying these sort of things when you're 38 years old with one child and another one on the way. But hey, that's him, that's how he is as a person. Some may consider it as art. No, it's just misogyny. That's the bottom line about it, just to be honest. You know what, this album is super ambitious. It's all over the place, like I said. That could be a good thing to some people, but that could also be a bad thing. Like, it just may be his most least focused effort. Even for the people who were divided on Yeezus, Yeezus was very focused with a similar sound all throughout, very cohesive with a specific message in mind. This, however, it's going in so many different directions I cannot pinpoint what exactly he's trying to get across on The Life of Pablo. He's comparing himself to his father. Again, he's talking about paranoia and who his real friends are. He's just doing random stuff like he knows how to do. He's calling it a gospel album. I wouldn't go that far, but it does have elements of gospel in it, influences of gospel, especially with the feature of Kirk Franklin. And then there's also still dark electronic sounds that he's kind of pulling over from the 808s and Yeezus era on songs like FML, which is very much a standout with a feature from The Weeknd, and then also from Feedback as well. Like, you can hear those electronic house, Chicago house sounds that he really, you know, used on Yeezus make appearances on this album. But I can say this is probably his most vibrant album in a very long time. It's his longest album since Late Registration. He hasn't done this many tracks in over 10 years. He has more features on this album than he has had in over 10 years as well. Like, you got Chance the Rapper, Kid Cudi, a new good music artist named Designer, you have Chris Brown, The Weeknd, Andre 3000, Kirk Franklin, Frank Ocean, Rihanna. It's so many different people on this album, so many contemporary artists. Young Thug is on the album, so many new people, but also so many mainstays in hip-hop and R&B and even in the gospel world that it's really infusing so many different sounds. Even with all of the tracks and all of the guest artists, it's still a very concise and powerful statement from Kanye West. My only thing is, I don't necessarily know if this is as much of a Kanye West album as much of an album it is to showcase other artists, like a good music type of album to showcase other people. So with the sounds coming from basically all eras of Kanye, it does seem to lack focus and cohesiveness as well. And finally, on some songs, his lyrics are razor sharp, such as No More Parties in LA, but then on other songs, you can see that little bit of a lackadaisical Kanye West that we got on Yeezus, where he didn't put so much focus into the lyrics and focused a lot more on the sound. And even the whole process leading up to this album seemed very unfocused and just all over the place. It just kind of seems like he came together and made it happen within a short amount of time. I mean, look at the album cover. The album cover is just all over the place. Like, it has random just stuff everywhere. Nonetheless though, The Life of Pablo is a great album. It is certainly a great album. I will say that compared to Kanye West's standards, it might not be his greatest album, but time will tell. I've only listened to it about 3 times. That's not enough time to really get the nuances of the album, to really understand and digest the album, and to see how it stacks up with just the rest of hip-hop today. So it's gonna take a lot more time to really understand what its place will be up next to the rest of his discography. So folks, I'm about to give you my score, but please take this with a grain of salt. Like I said, I've only listened to it 3 times, and I still have to listen to it a lot more. But I'm going to give The Life of Pablo an 8.3 out of 10. That is my score. That's what I'm giving it. That's what I feel right now. Probably will change tomorrow. Definitely will change in 2 months. But again, this is just my initial thoughts and reactions to his 7th studio album, The Life of Pablo. Woo! Well, that was a lot to get off my chest, and it was a lot to say because there was a lot to talk about. That's all I got for my album review of Kanye West's The Life of Pablo. As always, folks, check me out on social media, JRW the Creator on Twitter and Instagram, and then go check out my website, jordanrwilliams.com for more, and I will see y'all next time.